imagine what happened after parents dismiss danger and one doctor's reaction changes everything?
At the ER, my parents said, "You're just being dramatic." But the moment the emergency doctor walked in, she froze. Have you ever felt invisible when your life was on the line? That's exactly how I felt that night. I'm Emily, 17 years old, and I never thought a stomachache could turn into the most terrifying night of my life. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. It started as mild discomfort, a dull cramp that I brushed off. But by the time we got home, it was different, sharp, insistent, gnawing at my insides. I tried to tell my parents. "It hurts, really," I said. "I think something's wrong." And they looked at me like I was imagining it.
"You're just being dramatic,"
my mom said, brushing my words off as if they were nothing. My dad nodded in agreement, scrolling through his phone as though my pain was a minor distraction. I couldn't understand it. A part of me wanted to cry, but another part, one I didn't even know I had, told me to hold it together. Meanwhile, they had just spent thousands on my sister Sarah's spring break trip. New luggage, flights, hotels, excursions, all neatly packaged while my own discomfort was met with dismissal. I sat there, clutching my stomach, trying not to panic, trying not to let my fear show. I asked myself, am I overreacting? Am I imagining this? But deep down, my instincts screamed otherwise. I had always been the responsible one, the quiet observer, the one who followed rules and took care of herself. But that night, it felt like my parents' favoritism and ignorance had put me in real danger. And then, just as I was starting to feel hopeless, Dr. Patel entered the room. A calm authority filled the air, and suddenly, the room felt smaller. Her eyes locked on my parents, and for a moment, everyone froze. Why was she staring like that? What did she see that they didn't? I had no idea that what came next would completely upend everything I thought I knew about my family, my own strength, and the thin line between life and death.
Hold on, they just spent thousands on her sister's trip, but are ignoring these warning signs. How can parents be so blind? Should we even trust their judgment as this video unfolds?
I knew something was seriously wrong, but they didn't. From the moment I sat at the dinner table, a sharp, twisting pain had been gnawing at my stomach, spreading in waves that made it impossible to focus on anything else. I tried to speak, hoping they'd see it in my face, in the way I hunched over my plate. "Mom, Dad, I really think I need to go to the doctor," I said, my voice shaking. My mom barely looked up.
"Emily, you're being dramatic. You always overreact,"
she replied, like my words were background noise. My dad chuckled lightly, scrolling on his phone.
"Yeah, it's probably just stress from school. Relax."
I wanted to scream. My body was telling me something urgent, but my parents had dismissed every instinct, every warning. The contrast hit me harder because I knew exactly how they treated my sister, Sarah. Just last week, they spent thousands on her spring break trip, private flights, luxury hotels, excursions she didn't even need. Meanwhile, I couldn't get them to even listen to a 17-year-old trying to tell them her body was screaming for help. The injustice made my stomach twist even more. I tried to explain, using every ounce of calm I could muster. "It's not just a stomachache. I feel dizzy. My heart's racing. I can barely sit up." My mom waved her hand dismissively.
"It's probably nothing. Stop being dramatic."
Their voices blurred together, a constant reminder that the people who were supposed to protect me were blind to the danger. I remember thinking, in that quiet panic, what if this isn't nothing? What if I'm about to pass out and no one cares? My heart pounded, my vision blurred, but I had to hold it together. I clutched the edge of the table, taking deep breaths, trying to stop myself from panicking. I felt utterly alone. And then, as if the universe was testing me, the pain intensified suddenly, sharper, faster, almost unbearable. I gasped and froze, realizing this wasn't something they could ignore. But just when I thought they might finally take me seriously, something happened that left me more terrified than ever, and no one saw it coming.
Wait a second. The doctor is shocked by the parents. If this is just a stomach ache, why are they acting like it's something serious? Something feels off. We need to see what happens next.
Then she walked in, and everything changed in an instant. Dr. Patel didn't waste a single second. Her presence filled the room like electricity, calm yet commanding, and for the first time that night, I felt a sliver of hope. But the moment her eyes landed on my parents, everything froze. She paused mid-step, staring at them as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing.
"You're her parents?"
she asked, her voice steady but sharp, a mix of disbelief and concern. My parents stammered, fumbling for words, completely unprepared for someone to question them. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, a strange mix of relief and terror. Relief because someone finally saw the urgency. Terror because Dr. Patel's reaction meant the situation was worse than I imagined. She knelt beside me, checking my vitals, her hands precise, efficient, every movement telling me she knew exactly what she was dealing with.
"Emily, your symptoms are severe. We need to act fast,"
she said, eyes flicking to my parents again.
"You didn't call sooner?"
she asked, incredulous. My mom's mouth opened and closed. My dad just muttered something incoherent, and I realized in that moment just how blind they had been. I wanted to say, "I told you," but there was no time. My stomach twisted violently, and I gripped the edge of the bed, trying not to cry. I felt the adrenaline spike, my body trembling, and yet I was determined not to lose control. Dr. Patel moved like a storm, calling for tests, prepping equipment, and explaining things I barely understood, but each word hinted at danger. My mind raced. What could be so serious that a doctor reacts like this? I glanced at my parents. Their faces had gone pale. Shock, guilt, fear. They were finally realizing the reality of what their dismissal had caused. And then Dr. Patel said it, the words that made my stomach drop even further.
"Emily, this is not something we can wait on. This is life-threatening."
And in that moment, I understood. The worst was just beginning, and the fight for my survival had only just started.
Wait, if this was just a stomach ache, why is it life-threatening? Her parents still don't get it. Something about their choices feels dangerously wrong. We need to see what happens next.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and neither could my parents. The words echoed in my mind as Dr. Patel explained the situation with a calm urgency that made my stomach tighten even more. What started as mild discomfort was actually a rare condition, acute appendicitis with complications that could turn deadly within hours. My heart raced. I had barely been taken seriously, and now I understood just how close I had come to disaster. Doctors and nurses rushed around me, their movements efficient but tense. IV lines were inserted, monitors beeped rhythmically, and every action reminded me of the fragility of the situation. My parents hovered awkwardly, their earlier dismissiveness replaced with panic and guilt. But their presence did nothing to ease the fear gnawing at me. They finally saw the reality of their mistake. The favoritism they showed my sister had blinded them to the warning signs in front of them. I felt a strange mixture of fear and empowerment. I was terrified, yes, but I also realized that I had to advocate for myself. No one else had taken me seriously until Dr. Patel arrived. I had to trust my instincts, communicate clearly, and stay calm under pressure. Every wave of pain reminded me that survival depended on my actions as much as anyone else's. Meanwhile, my parents' faces told a story of their own, a brutal reflection of their negligence. They had spent thousands ensuring my sister's comfort, yet their own child's safety had been treated as insignificant. The irony and betrayal were crushing. I wanted to shout, to make them feel even a fraction of what I had endured. But instead, I focused on staying conscious, staying alive. Then, Dr. Patel dropped a line that made everything even more real.
If you had waited another hour, Emily, it could have been too late.
I understood how close I had come. My chest tightened, my breath caught, and I realized the gravity of the moment. This wasn't just about pain or misunderstanding. It was a race against death. And just when I thought I had a handle on everything, the next twist hit. A revelation that would change my family forever. The reality hit hard, like a wave I couldn't dodge. My parents finally understood, too late, the danger their dismissal had put me in. Dr. Patel's words replayed in my mind. If you had waited another hour, it could have been too late. I could still feel the ache in my stomach, the tremor in my hands, and the adrenaline that had carried me through every moment of panic. But amid the fear, there was clarity. I had survived. Not because my parents had believed me, but because I trusted my own instincts and didn't give up. Watching my parents' faces as the seriousness sank in was surreal. Shock, guilt, and a flicker of helplessness crossed their eyes. They had spent thousands on Sarah's comfort, yet when my life was on the line, I had been invisible. The contrast stung sharply, but it also made the lesson unforgettable. Sometimes you are the only person who will fight for your own survival. I had learned that in a way I would never forget. Dr. Patel stayed with me, explaining the condition, the risks, and how critical timely action was. Every detail drove home how dangerously close I had come to something irreversible. My body relaxed only slightly as the doctor stabilized me, but the emotional scars, the mix of relief, betrayal, and empowerment, remained vivid. I realized that my parents' negligence had exposed a deeper truth about our family's dynamics, and I had seen firsthand how favoritism can blind people to reality. Looking back, that night became a defining moment. I discovered courage I didn't know I had, the ability to advocate for myself when no one else would. It was terrifying, yes, but it also transformed me. I knew I had survived not just the condition, but the emotional neglect, the dismissal, the disbelief. And as I finally caught my breath, I realized, life is too fragile to let anyone dismiss your voice, especially when your instincts scream that something is wrong. So here's the takeaway. Trust yourself. Stand up for your needs. If someone tells you you're being dramatic when your gut says otherwise, listen to your gut. Share this story if you've ever been dismissed. And remember that sometimes believing in yourself is the difference between surviving and not. And as for my parents, well, that's a lesson they'll never forget either.
Could you have survived if ignored as Emily? Share your thoughts and don't miss what's next.